Hey, hey, and welcome back to Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. Now, when you think of a notorious outlaw, you might picture a gunslinger with a six-shooter on his hip. But today's story, well, it's about a woman who used charm, beauty, and a good old fainting spell to rob men blind. She didn't need a pistol, just a soft smile and a delicate swoon. Welcome back. Let's get on with the story. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, one name fluttered through police stations across the Midwest, Fainting Bertha Liebbeke. She was born in March of 1880 in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and by her 20s, she was one of the region's most wanted pickpockets. Her method was simple and diabolically clever. She'd spot a well-dressed man, preferably with a diamond-studded lapel pin, accidentally stumble into him, and faint right into his arms. While the poor fella tried to revive the helpless damsel, she'd lift his valuables, wallet, watch, even the lapel pin itself, and vanish before he realized he'd been robbed by a woman who looked like she needed smelling salts. Clifton Wooldridge, a Chicago detective who knew her well, described her as a girlish young woman with the baby dimples and skin of peach and cream, the innocent blue eyes and the smiles that play so easily over her face as she talks vivaciously and with keen sense of both wit and humor. In other words, she didn't look like a thief, and that was half her weapon. Bertha operated across Illinois, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska, under more names than a poker cheat with a bad hand. She was known as Bertha Liebbeke, Jenny Jennings, Bertha Nixon, Jay Armstrong, Carrie Jones, Bessie Mills, Minnie Wilson, and Bertha Siegel. No matter the alias, her act stayed the same: feint, charm, and filch. And she had an origin story that was almost cinematic. Bertha claimed she was seduced by a man named Gunther, a scoundrel who taught her the art of larceny. Once she'd learned the trade, she didn't just follow in his footsteps, she outpaced him. Men reported her thefts again and again, but almost no one suspected the delicate young woman who fainted at their feet. To make matters worse for lawmen, Bertha had another dangerous talent. She could steal keys and pick locks. Not exactly ideal qualities in a jail inmate. Now, Bertha's story wasn't all laughs and larceny. Behind the blue eyes and the clever grin was a woman plagued by real illness, both physical and mental. As a teenager, she'd been diagnosed with something called St. Vitus dance, or Sedinum chorea, an infection that causes uncontrollable twitching and jerking movements. Doctors at the time didn't know what to do with her, so they sent her to the Iowa Institution for Feeble-Minded Children. When she aged out, she was transferred to the Iowa State Hospital for the Insane. That was just the beginning of a lifelong shuffle between asylums and prisons. By 1907, Bertha had been confined multiple times to 7 different penitentiaries and asylums and logged over a dozen escapes. She'd slip away so often that guards started calling her Houdini in petticoats. In 1905, she even escaped from an asylum in Kankakee, Illinois, and tried to set herself on fire. A desperate act from a woman clearly battling demons that no one understood. In 1911, Nebraska officials didn't know what to do with her. Was she a criminal to be punished or a patient to be treated? The State Insanity Board examined her and reported that she suffered from delusions and hallucinations, talking to imaginary people, feeling insects crawling under her skin, and flying into violent fits. Back then, doctors called her condition dementia praecox, meaning premature madness. Today, we'd call it schizophrenia, a serious mental condition that can distort reality and behavior. Modern medicine would likely treat her with antipsychotic medication, therapy, and structured care. But in 1911, compassion often lost to punishment. Governor Aldrich ignored medical advice and sent her to the Nebraska State Penitentiary instead, locked away in special quarters for the mentally ill. After her release in 1913, Reverend Charles Savage of Omaha's People's Church took her in. He and his congregation believed they could cast out her modern devils. They even prepared a safe room and assigned a church member to stay with her around the clock. Bertha told reporters she was reformed, ready to marry, move west, and leave her crimes behind. But something went wrong. The church gave up on her. Reverend Savage finally said, "I will not attempt to aid her again, as I consider her case impossible." Within a year, Bertha was back in custody, arrested for vagrancy in Milwaukee, then sent to yet another asylum, which she promptly escaped. The next years read like a sad refrain: arrest, escape, suicide attempt, asylum, release. She tried to swallow strychnine, set her clothes on fire, and even attacked a nurse with formaldehyde, blinding her. From the 1920s through the 1930s, Bertha lived mostly in state hospitals. Treatments of the era were brutal: mechanical restraints, surgeries meant to cure insanity, and early forms of chemical shock therapy. Bertha Liebbeke, once the charming pickpocket who turned fainting into fortune, died in 1939 at the Hastings State Hospital. She was 59 years old. So what do you think? Was Fainting Bertha a cunning con artist who knew exactly what she was doing, or a woman broken by an illness no one could understand at the time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I do read every single one. And if you love stories where beauty, brains, and a bit of mayhem collide, make sure to subscribe and join my posse. Around here, we don't just tell Old West tales, we dig into the minds behind them all. In the meantime, I'll catch you on down the trail.